Hey everybody, welcome to my new channel, Tales from the Treadmill. My name is Toby Bittenbender, and here I talk about all of my time spent being the guitar player in rock bands growing up in my teens, into my 20s and 30s and 40s. I still do that, now I just do it sober. But I talk about the issues that I had struggling with addiction issues back in the day, and the road to recovery, and then also now my time in sobriety. And I'm so thankful every day that I wake up sober and that I go to bed sober. It's incredible feeling to know that I'm in control of my day every day. And so I'm just going to jump right into it here. This is the second part of the Jibe Blows Up series that I started on Friday, I think. And this one, Jibe Blows Up, literally. So this starts in 2003. This is going to be probably from 2003 to 2005 is what I'm going to do here. Talk about my time in those 2 years, what was going on. So 2003 was an incredible year, actually. My daughter was born right at the beginning of the year. One of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life, shining light in my life. And also, our band was pretty much exploding. We were selling out shows here in Dallas and around the region. And our song, Yesterday's Gone, was sent to radio and it blew up. We were getting in here, I think it was like 125 spins a week between The Edge and The Eagle. And after 9 years of being together, we finally got our break. And it was crazy just getting in the car, driving down the street, and you couldn't turn on one of those stations without that song being played, which was incredible. Just knowing, the Dallas Cowboys used it on their opening season that year when Bill Parcells was the coach. The helicopter would be coming in, flying over Texas Stadium, and our song would be playing, and the lyrics that I wrote would be up on the screen in big Cowboys letters. It was an amazing time. The song blew up on radio. We went number one here in Dallas. We were number one in several other cities around the region, and in the top 10 and top 20 in a bunch of places. So it was an awesome time, okay? And we were still touring in support of Uprising, our record that we had put out, and with Yesterday's Gone on it. And we were playing some huge shows. We got to, we toured with David Lee Roth on the West Coast, I should say. We did get to open up for Jerry Cantrell and Nickelback on the East Coast. We were sponsored by Jim Beam, which was just an insane time. And, so 2003 was an incredible time, like I said. I will, as far as what was going on at the time, we were partying, especially me and the singer, Joe. And it's widely known that it was not a secret. It never has been a secret. I'm not going to go into, like I said, much of what was going on with him because that's his business. But he and I were carrying on the tradition of being in a rock band and just being out of control. It was completely out of control. And pretty much anything that was around, I would do at the time. And with the exception of heroin. If you haven't seen my video about Leonardo DiCaprio saving my life, go check that out. That's the one thing that I never did, and thankfully it probably saved my life. So, but during this period of time, a new drug was introduced to me. After a night of drinking, of course, somebody was like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" It was smoking it. It was ice. I had no idea what that was. Never had heard of it. But I tried it, and I just thought, that's weird. I can't go to sleep, and I don't feel any different. It was a weird thing to me. But during that period of time, that 2003 to 2004, I probably tried it, 4 or 5 times. I did it 4 or 5 times, I should say. It was just around me. I never went to get it. I never was like, oh my God, I have to have it. None of that, So just want to set the record straight on that, because there was some talk after the band broke up that was part of which is a ridiculous notion for anyone to say, just excuses for bad behavior. But anyway, not going to get too into detail about those kind of things, because again, I think I'm going to put all of this into a book, and I'm going to go into super detail about my experience in the band, and I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I think I'm going to do it just because, I think younger generations of players and musicians need to hear this stuff so that hopefully they can not, succumb to the pitfalls of these type of things. Because, if you've got talent and you're writing songs and you're doing things, you don't need drugs and alcohol to make that happen. It's just, You don't, but unfortunately I felt the need. Like when you're in the thick of it and you let that stuff get into you, eventually it does feel like you can't do it without it. Like you have to have it to make something happen. It's a ridiculous notion because we all have that magic inside of us, you know what I'm saying? So anyhow, I want to get into 2004. I knew something was going on. The relationship between the members of the band wasn't at an all-time low. And I do attribute it a lot to the drugs and alcohol that were going on at the time. But there was just so much ego happening. It's crazy what happens when you actually start to find some success. Some people just go bananas and are completely out of control. It's going to be hard for me to talk about this part. I'm not going to go into super detail about it, but I do want to talk about it because this is part of what I was talking about in an earlier video where trauma, we all hold this trauma inside. And I think that's why we try to escape to drugs and alcohol to try to deal with it instead of actually facing it. So anyway, 2004 rolls around, and I get a phone call from Ben, our drummer, that Joe disappeared. The singer disappeared in the middle of the night, took all of his stuff, and was just gone. Now, I kind of had an idea that something like this was going on, and I called Joe out on it a couple of times, but he denied it. But the reality of it was he disappeared in the middle of the night without saying anything to any of us after 10 years, still having a song, Yesterday's Gone, charting. And by the way, Yesterday's Gone had gone #1 in Austin, and we were just about to go do this huge biker rally thing with thousands of people where we were going to be the headliner, and he takes off to go pursue his own personal interests. I'm going to put it like that. And so when I got that phone call, I remember the way I reacted was I laughed, first of all. Thought it was funny for some reason, and I go, all right, well, whatever, and I just got off the phone. I was so sick and tired of the interpersonal relationships that were happening at the time between the band members that it almost felt like a relief in that moment, but also I didn't understand the pain that I was feeling, and I took that pain and I buried it deep down as far as I could. That's my pattern that I do with trauma type stuff. Is I take those feelings and I just bury them like they don't exist, and then I go on and pretend, like they don't exist. Now I don't do this anymore. I've learned this about myself. So as I've grown and everything, and realized, I have control of, like, I face these things. I don't just bury them and walk the other way, which is what I did then. So I didn't understand the pain that was involved there, because I was just like, well, yeah, screw that guy then. So I went on with my life, and it was summertime, and I was working, and I got a phone call from Paul Nugent, manager, to, audition for one of his artists, Zaida Alvarez, who was signed with Sony Latin. She had the drummer, Al, this great dude. He was in Power Man 5000. I was so excited, and it was awesome getting to jam with him. But anyway, I went and auditioned. I got the gig, and like 4 or 5 days later, moved to LA, right? So it was a crazy time, but the cool part about this whole thing is, I was around some incredible people. I mean, talk about a singer who had their shit together. That's the first time I'd ever seen any singer or any artist or anybody like doing vocal exercises, watching their diet for what it was like it was like a 180 from what I was used to. And then also getting to jam with Al on drums, Justin Andres, a good friend of mine, on bass, killer guitar player too, but just a wonderful human being, and Chal Boudreau on guitar, and getting to share those guitar duties with him was amazing. And they're all incredible people. So in that moment, I moved to LA, and I was still drinking, but I kind of stopped everything else because I was in a different city. I didn't really know people, and I was around people that didn't do that. It was actually a really awesome time. The band was awesome. In fact, I was just over at my friend's John and Teresa's the other night. We watched a video that we did, like Zaida. We performed at the Curtain Club, and we sounded incredible. I mean, it's funny looking back, like, appreciating how incredible the musicianship and the artistry was in that group of people. I was very lucky to be able to do that, and for the first time ever, I was actually getting paid to play music. I was a hired gun, really. Zaida wrote all the songs and recorded it with some really incredible musicians. If you haven't seen that, go check her out. Zaida Alvarez, Z-A-Y-R-A Alvarez. Go check her out. She's got a lot of really cool stuff. But anyway, so I'm in LA, and we're out there, and we're going to, Miami. We're going to Chicago. We're going to Puerto Rico. We're playing all these awesome shows. We, opened up for Juanes, and we got to be on MTV Espanol and CNN, Espanol, and we were on all these networks. It was a really incredible time in my life, and one of the more sober times that I've been. Even like I said, I was still drinking, and occasionally I would backslide into something. But I mean, for like a good year and a half, I was just drinking and playing with that band. So then what ends up happening is, I don't know if you guys remember, reggaeton came out right then, and Gasolina hit, and I think it kind of stifled. I mean, that was such a huge thing that unfortunately it kind of stifled what was going on with everything else, and Sony kind of dropped the ball there. I think they should have moved forward with Zaida, because she is such an incredible artist. Anyhow, but what ended up happening was I came back to Dallas, moved back home, and this is in 2005-ish area, like later 2005-ish area. And when I got back home, that's when I think things started to react, because it was only a couple months after Jibe after Joe had left Jibe, and the band broke up. It was only a few months after that I tried out for Zaida and left to go to LA. So it was kind of like I immediately found something else and went, and it was just, and maybe that's part of what I was trying to do, is just get away from the pain. I don't know. But anyway, I came back home, and I was kind of falling back into those old patterns here. Now, this is actually when the problem started. When I got back home after playing with Zaida, I started getting back in with people, and I was lost. I had no direction, because I just wasn't understanding what it was that was going on. I mean, I remember I was on a treadmill working out, and suddenly, and I was walking like this, maybe jogging, but suddenly my back just, I had this massive back pain, and I thought it was my Zag nerd. I ended up going to the emergency room. I could barely walk. After like a few weeks of dealing with it, I finally went to the emergency room. They thought that I had a slipped disc or something. It turns out that what it ended up being was, I read a book called How to Heal Your Back Pain by Dr. John Sarno, and he was a surgeon that did back surgeries for years, who figured out that most back pain is caused by trauma, and that was the first time I ever even thought of that. And so all through these exercises that is in that book, I was able to deal with my trauma, and for the first time deal with the pain that came along with Jibe breaking up after being in a band for a decade, working on a project, finally getting to the precipice of some success, having a single on the radio, and then someone bails. You know what I mean? Like that's what it finally hit me, the depth and the brevity of that situation, right? So I started to deal with that, but unfortunately I started dealing with it by doing more drugs and drinking more, and I wasn't dealing with it mentally, but I was able to get rid of that back pain. That book is great. If you have back pain, check it out. How to Heal Your Back Pain by Dr. John Sarno. But at this time, that's when that drug got reintroduced into my life, ice, and it became a massive problem for me. So I'm going to get into that on my next video, guys, because again, this is the lowest point of my life that I've lived. And it's to talk about it is kind of difficult, but I'm going to get through this, and I'm doing it with the help of you guys, and I really appreciate you being here. Like I've said, if I could just help one person, find some peace in their life, or they relate with what's going on, and maybe they see how deep it got for me, the depth of the despair that I got, and maybe they can see that there's a way out for them, because life is amazing, and I'm so happy to be here. So thank you again for joining me today on this road to recovery, and let's get back into it tomorrow. I hope you all have a wonderful day today, all right? Thanks.